if I can see you all while also presenting. I'm trying to check that. Okay, so just give me one more second, ma'am. I want to test something.
Yes, sir.
So this is visible, right? The screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Your PPT is also visible.
Okay. I am also visible, right? Okay, good. All right.
So shall we start with a brief introduction by our students? Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's guest speaker is Mr. Komaragiri Sahadev, who will be joining us online for a briefing session. Brief profile of Mr. Sahadev.
Yes. Yes.
Brief profile of Mr. Sahadev. He is the founder of Soham Academy of Human Excellence. This academy strives for betterment of students to lead a purposeful life. He is also the founder and director of Soham Center for Advanced Computing of Robotics and Artificial Intelligence. Apart from this, he has completed his civil engineering from OU and also has done his MS in civil engineering from USA. He worked as an IT architect and consultant for several MNCs in US and Singapore and returned to India to improve the quality of education. He is also a master trainer at Shri Satya Sai Vidya Vahini program. Apart from this, he loves to write articles and blogs on education, spirituality, etc. Thank you. Over to you, sir. So, over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So a very warm good afternoon to all of you. I hope you all had good lunch. I hope when we talk about human values, a difficult topic, especially after lunch. So I'll do my best to convince you that there are certain aspects of human values that are very, very valuable to all of you, especially those aspiring for managerial roles, management positions, leadership roles, and taking on the world. You're at a stage right now where you think everything is possible in this world. You'll be able to do many powerful things with your youthful exuberance and youthful energy. Everything appears to be conquerable. Everything appears to be something that is doable, not just doable, but also easy. What I am going to try today is to talk to you about the human values, but also present to you some what we can call mantras, some kind of mantras in some areas that are especially relevant for those aspiring for managerial and leadership roles. Okay, so at a very, very fundamental level, when we talk about human values, we talk about Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa. These are 5 core human values. Everyone talks about this. There is limitless literature on these topics: Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa. Simple translation: truth, right conduct, peace, love, and non-violence. But what happens is, this is something that is entirely out of syllabus for many institutions, for many schools, many colleges. Here and there are certain institutions that have classes in a disguised form of human values. Say, for example, ethics in management, or they use the word ethics in order to cover human values at a bigger level. But other than that, there is no emphasis, as far as I know, maybe I'm wrong, as far as I know, there is not much literature floating around in campuses on how to deal with these human values. People tell you have to be truthful. And everyone in the college who is sitting there, I know, believe that, yeah, I'm going to be very truthful no matter what. They go into an office, encounter a boss who might be the biggest idiot you ever met, or the nicest person you ever met. You have to deal with him in a certain way or her in a certain way. Same thing holds with right conduct. Do you know what is right to do at a certain point? At a given situation, do you know what is the right conduct? Do you know how to be peaceful in spite of the most stressful environment that you live in? Do you know how to be very loving to people whom you should generally hate? Everyone, there are always people who irritate you, who you encounter, and they are probably not the nicest people around. And how do you deal with them? Same thing with non-violence, and I'll tell you briefly my background. I worked in many MNCs in the US, and when I came back to India, I also worked with many MNCs in different levels. When I see young people coming out of colleges and they go into officers and start working with them, they have that youthful exuberance like I said earlier. I'm getting echo, ma'am. Is it possible? Is some other instrument also device also switched on? Okay, I think it's better now. There's no echo. Thank you. So when I see these people coming to the office, and I have recruited many people in various positions for my organization, and when I did that, I noticed that when people come in, they are very naive, and when they have learned all good things in life, they have good experiences in colleges, but when they come out and start working in an environment, they have to deal with a situation that is something that is never taught in their colleges. They will never teach you in a college on how to deal with a boss who irritates you day in and day out. This is not something that is taught in syllabus. That is not not taught in colleges. What I will do today is bring down these human values into small mantras kind of thing, and then we'll evaluate those and see some examples. One of my most interesting mantras that I learned over a period of time is a mantra called truth management mantra. And I call this truth management because you see, right from childhood, we are used to managing truth rather than telling truth. Telling truth is one part, managing truth is whole different concept. For example, if a child is asked why he did not finish his homework, or at your age, why you did not finish your project in a timely manner, and that's when truth management starts. Actually, what happens is I started my project. One of my colleagues who is also on this project did not cooperate, did not deliver what he promised. And all that is truth management. The stories that you come up with, the different kinds of stories that you come up with. But this sloka that you see here, this mantra that you see here, is something that our ancient rishis came up with more than 5,000 years back. And the beauty is, I'll tell you the meaning of this mantra in a while. The beauty is, this is still applicable to even this day. How do you manage truth? Satyam bruyat. Very simple. It simply means, bruyat means tell the truth all the time. Simple enough. But it tells you priyam bruyat, meaning when you are conveying the truth, convey the truth in a loving way. Third truth management step in this process is nabruyat satyam apriyam. If a particular truth has to be announced and it is absolutely in a very bad taste, and you have to convey the truth, what our ancient rishis are telling us is don't do that. Nabruyat, don't say or don't tell any truth that is hurtful, outright hurtful. Don't do that. And these are four simple steps. Satyam bruyat, tell the truth, but tell it in a loving way. Nabruyat satyam apriyam. Don't tell any truth that is not very, that cannot be conveyed in a loving manner. And there's a fourth one, and this is what is even more interesting than all the three before. Priyam cha nanrutam bruyat. What it means is, just because it is very sweet, don't tell a lie. Just because it is very sweet. Okay, in those who watch Telugu films, they will understand this easily. And those who don't, the word is biscuit. Biscuit is typical Priyancham Namritam Bruyat example. In a Telugu movie, there's unnecessary praise being heaped on a person, and that is loosely translated as he's throwing biscuits at me. So it is easily understandable. But again, those are all lies, not truth, but those are all lies that are being heaped against you just to bribe you or just to make you feel good. What our ancient Dharma is telling us is, don't do that. And we see this in colleges and schools also. There are people who are very pally-pally with their class teachers. They are the ones who say, ma'am, you look very fantastic today. What did you do? And this is all kind of buttering. And sometimes they are truthful. Sometimes they are very, very truthful. But sometimes they do this on purpose. When you see this, the management of truth, when we learn about this, if you are sincere in your learning about truth management, you will understand that there are 4 levels. These 4 levels are something that you should understand. Satyam bruyat, always tell the truth. Tell it lovingly. Don't tell it if it is outright is going to hurt someone out in a very outright manner, and don't tell lies just because they sound very very appealing. Don't do that. Now, when you come out of college, I have a small example here. You are tested. If you learn this truth management, simple truth management example, how to manage your truth, you will find that there's this example here. The tax avoidance is okay. Tax evasion is not okay. This is a very popular tax principle. They say that government frames a lot of rules for filing taxes. You can file taxes, and when you file taxes, even for individuals or companies, when they file taxes, what they say is you can avoid paying tax by including certain things. For example, at the end of 1 year, you have a profit of 1 lakh. Okay, the best way to do what government expects you to do is on March 31st, if you have a balance of 1 lakh, then you pay tax on that 1 lakh, which is probably 25%, and 25,000 you pay in tax. But what companies do is, instead of paying that tax, what they do is they spend that 1 lakh on something and deduct that as an expense or deduct that as an asset purchase. Now, as far as the government is concerned, government is at a loss. They did not get that money. But as far as company is concerned, they bought an asset and made best use of that money instead of paying tax. Now, government and company, for both of them, this kind of avoidance of tax is okay. But tax evasion is not okay, and it is punishable. And the same thing applies here. When you talk about managing truth, when you talk about I don't want to pay tax, and how do you say that very truthfully? You should say it lovingly. I want to pay tax, but I have this expense. I will make use of that money for paying for this expense, and therefore I will avoid tax. But if you don't report that 1 lakh expense, and that is outright lying. And that is evasion. If you don't report it, it is evasion. You're not paying, not only you're not paying tax, you're not even declaring that you have that profit. So whether it is companies or whether it is individuals, wherever field, whatever field you are in at that particular moment, the way you manage it. Okay, very simple rules again. If you have to manage it always in the right way. Always manage it in a loving way. Don't do it in a crude manner. Okay, and also don't do it, like I said, don't do it in a crude manner, and don't do it if it is a lie and make it sound as if it is very sweet. Okay, so if companies follow this truth management rule, in my opinion, there has to be a lot of research done on how this. I gave you just one example of tax avoidance, but if you take this into on a larger scale and apply it in many more places, you will understand that this is one of the eternal principles that we have trained ourselves in Sanatana Dharma. Okay, now I'll move on to the next mantra that I'm also very fond of. And this mantra is again, I call this survival mantra. Okay, and the words that are there in the mantra or the shlokam are also, I gave both Telugu version, English version, and also the loosely translated words for that. Okay, what this mantra is telling us is Isha Gruni Nasantushtaha Krothano Nitya Shankitaha Parabhagyopajivicha Sharete Nitya Dukhita. I love this mantra because it is telling us 6 valuable principles on things that you should avoid. When you get into a job, the first thing that you will see is probably or after staying in a job for a long time, you will see that some of your juniors getting promoted. Or you see that some of your colleagues are getting that promotion and you're not getting that. And that's where Irsha starts. Irsha means jealousy. Gruni is hatred, developing hatred for someone for no apparent reason. Even if you have a reason to hate someone, hatred is something that hurts you more than the person that you hate. Second one is Gruni. Nasantushtaha. I loosely translated this as sadness, but it is more or less to do with not being happy with what you have and always craving for something big. Now I can see some of you thinking, what is wrong in being ambitious? What is wrong in not being happy with what you have? Again, going forward and achieving and craving for more. There is nothing wrong with that. There's a difference between ambition and greed. And when you don't maintain the balance between the two, you encounter sadness. Nasantushtaha is that. Krodhano. This is again very simple. You'll see a lot of angry people when you get out and do various jobs, or even you notice among your friends also. Krodhano, anger. And Nitya Shankitaha. These last two words, Nitya Shankitaha and Parabhagyopajivicha, are relatively difficult to understand. Okay, Nitya Shankitaha is someone who is always doubtful, always suspicious. Loosely translated, again in a managerial setting, Nitya Shankitaha is about the same as analysis paralysis. If you have heard of this word, good. If you have not heard, understand this. When you have a project to deal with, and if you spend a lot of time in analyzing it until everyone is bored to death, then that is a problem. Analyzing itself is not a problem. Shankita, being doubtful itself is not a problem. But Nitya Shankitaha is a problem. Being always suspicious is a problem. Analysis paralysis is something that many companies go through. And in the process, what they do is the projects that they are supposed to execute fail, largely because they suspect that they design a system, and this is again true with many projects that we execute. When you are designing a system, you design the system with an over design. Okay, when it is over designed, what you are doing is things that do not happen regularly, you try to incorporate those also into your design, and that would be over analysis, that would be over design. And if your project or if your if the thing that task that you take up is delivered and it is not able to do minimum things, then it is under design. Okay, that is also a problem. What they are saying is Nitya Shankitaha, being overly suspicious is wrong. And this applies to both individuals and organizations. Organizations also go through these cycles of hatred, jealousy, not being satisfied with what they have. They also go through these anger cycles. They also go through this analysis paralysis cycle. Now, the last one is Parabhagyopajivicha. Cha is, and because that's the last one, we use end at the end in Sanskrit. Parabhagyopajivi simply means depending on the fortunes of others. Bhagyam, parabhagyopa, jivi. Jivi is if you are living on the fortunes of others, para, others, bhagya, fortune. If you are living on the fortunes of other people, then that is also wrong. Now, what are the examples for this? In a simple setting, in a company, in an organization, if you have only one client and that client is driving your business throughout, 90% of your business is run because of that one client, you are like a Parabhagyopajeevi company. You don't have failover strategies. You are simply depending on one person. Dump this down to individual levels, you will understand that you don't work very hard for your exam, but when you go to the exam hall, you somehow think there is a person, very bright person who is going to sit next to me and I can easily copy from them. Possibility, dream. May not happen, but dream. And at a very, very early level, childhood level, this starts with, I will not prepare well, but I know who is preparing well. Same thing with projects, not just exams. In a project, if there are 4 people, one person will always be a Parabhagyopajeevi because that person will not contribute anything to the project, but at the end, he will get the project certificate also. Okay, how do you identify them? How do you deal with them is a different story. I will not get into it. But you will encounter these people all your life, Parabhagyopajeevis. And I don't want you to be one of them. And if you can understand what this Parabhagyopajeevi means, you would have understood most of the survival mantras in your life. You just have to understand that you should never be a Parabhagyopajeevi. What happens to people with these 6 qualities? Irsha, hatred, jealousy, gruni, hatred, nasantushtaha, sadness or not feeling happy with what they have, anger, overly suspicious, and over dependence on others. People with these qualities are nitya dukkhitas, meaning they always have some excuse or the other to encounter problems in life. Continuously encounter problems in life. Like I said in the earlier example of an organization depending or getting business only from one company 90% of the time, sooner or later they are going to encounter a big problem. A company or an individual who is constantly angry, sooner or later will find himself in a big trouble. Okay, so I call this survival mantra. We teach this to our own students at Soham Academy as one of the most important mantras. Truth management mantra is also something we teach our children on a regular basis. Now, how do you apply this sloka to your own life? I don't know, but think about it. I have given you sufficient examples on how these people with these qualities will continuously face problems in their lives. And this is again some mantra that did not get invented just a few weeks back or invented by me, but this is again a mantra or slokam that is coming from ages, the very old mantra. And our ancestors mastered these techniques. They understood the psychology of the people that they are dealing with, our psychology of the masses, and they came up with these simple formulas. Who are the people who are most unhappy at all times? They are the people with these 6 qualities. Who are the people who will constantly face problems, constantly face various issues in life? They are the people who have these 6 qualities. We should understand that if we know how these qualities are affecting us, if they are part and parcel of our own life, and if we are consistently facing problems, we should evaluate our own understanding of our own behavior. Are we continuously jealous of something or someone? Are we in the process of hating someone? Are we not satisfied with what we have? Are we consistently angry? No matter what we get, are we over analyzing something? Are we depending too much on others? If you analyze yourself on these aspects, I think you will understand that you will get out of that phase of nitya dukkhita, that not be continuously facing some problem or the other. You will come out of that. Is my strong belief. I have understood this. I think I understood this, and we try to explain this to people we meet at our academy. Now, The last mantra that I wanted to bring to your notice is a leadership mantra. The first one we talked about is truth management mantra. The second one is survival mantra, and the third one is leadership mantra. Now, this is a very, very powerful one. I reserved this for the last one. There are only two characteristics that they are saying. Abhibhadana Silasya. All they are saying is maintain integrity. You have to maintain a character that is applaudable. People think I should be like him. People should think I should be like her. And you should have such good qualities that others will try to emulate you, imitate you, and try to be like you. And the second one is Nityam Vruddhopasevinaha, always helping or supporting old age people. Now, this appears to be a very boring topic on the surface, but I picked up this one as a leadership mantra. The reason is Abhivadana Silasya is very, very, very simply, if you have strong integrity, you are the most sought after person, even by those people who lack integrity. Understand this very carefully. There are people who run large companies, they have no integrity in some cases. Some cases they maintain that integrity. Whether or not they maintain their own personal integrity, they want people who can be trusted, people who have strong integrity. If that is the case, if you maintain that high levels of integrity, you will be a sought after person, irrespective of whether that person maintains his own personal integrity or not. If a person maintains his or her own personal integrity, that person will also seek you if you have strong credentials in integrity. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? In all the large companies and even in families, there is this lack of trust. Consistently, we are seeing even in small families, very big families are, 2-member, 3-member families. We are facing this problem of trust, whether we can trust someone or not. And when you go into the society, when you start working with many people, can you trust them or not? But if you yourself is a very trustworthy person, you will see the entire world in a different perspective. That's what I noticed. If you maintain strong levels of integrity, you'll do that. Now, the second aspect is they're saying Nityam. Nitya is a word you should understand. Forever, every time, each and every time. Nityam means that all the time, not occasionally, not rarely, but not even regularly, but every time. Nityam means every time. Vruddhopa sevinaha. What they say is Vruddhopa. Vruddha is a word that is used in very negative sense. Vruddha is someone who is very old. Vruddhulu is a Telugu word, common word. Vruddhulu means very old people. But that's a wrong word. The Telugu equivalent for old people is Musali word. Old people, very old people, right? They are called Musalithanam. It's in Telugu. I don't know if you understand that word. Musalithanam, But when it comes to Vriddhi Chandinavaru is a Telugu word, the equivalent. Vriddhi means the one who came up in life in a big way. Vriddhi Chandinavaru is a Telugu word, Telugu equivalent words, but Vriddhi is one who has made a lot of progress in life. They are not telling you to reach out to old people and serve them. They are telling you to reach out to people who have made a lot of progress in life. Sanskrit is very precise when it comes to usage of words. Like I said, Nityam is every time, each and every time. Not occasionally, not regularly. Same thing here. Nityam, every time you see good mentors. In my opinion, Vruddha is someone who has made a lot of progress and who could potentially be a good mentor for you. If you seek out such good mentors and you maintain good integrity, and with that integrity you reach out to good mentors, there is no turning back for you. I have seen personally myself many individuals who sought good mentors throughout their life. In a school level, you have to seek out a good teacher. At a college level, you have to seek out the help of a good teacher, a good professor. And when you seek out that good professor and constantly be with that person, seek guidance from that person by also being very polite and being helpful to that person in return. Now, this is not give and take. In olden days, this was very apt because a guru and a Sishya relationship is more or less like a father and child relationship. Child takes complete care of father. In the same case, in the same way, a disciple, a student takes complete care of the teacher. And it is because of that complete care that is provided by the child is hanging out more and more with that wise person, with that wise guru. And because of that, he comes up in life. Same thing, Vruddhopasevinaha. If you understand that, as soon as you join a company, seek out the person who is the best in the company. Ask him if he can become a mentor, if he can become a mentor for you. Magical happens. If you maintain strong integrity and if you seek out good mentors, what happens is you'll achieve longevity, knowledge, respect, and strength. Now, if you see, these four words are not mutually exclusive, they are dependent on each other. At a place where you maintain higher standards of integrity and if you have a good mentor, there is no reason for you to leave that company. You will stay for the longest time possible. And they also want you to be there for the longest time possible. And because you are staying in a good company, in the company of a good mentor, you'll also gain a lot of knowledge. And it is because of this knowledge, you'll also earn a lot of respect in the company. And when you have this staying at the same place for the longest time, when you acquire the necessary knowledge and respect, what happens? You will achieve higher positions in that company. And that's where your strength comes from. You look at this sloka in a very low way or in a very shallow way, this appears to be a very silly sloka. But when you look at it, when you understand how it applies in a company environment, in a college, in a school, or in big corporates, no matter where you go, if you evaluate yourself on this simple mantra, the strength part, the leadership comes because of you maintaining a strong integrity, you seeking the company of good mentors, and because of which you get longer stay at the place, you attain higher levels of knowledge and respect, and therefore leadership roles. And they all come in a sequence. They are mutually dependent. Okay, so that is my leadership mantra. Now, what we'll do is this is my favorite part again. I want you to know there are four types of people. When you go out and meet and join big companies or wherever you go, you will find four types of people, and those four types of people are very well documented right here. You know, there are givers, there are takers, there are matchers, and there are fakers. I read a very, very good book called Givers and Takers. I am not able to recall the author's name. But in this book, they have clearly identified the four types of people that you encounter. People are givers, and you should always seek out givers. And when you seek out givers, you should be a giver yourself in order to seek out a giver. Now, givers are those people who don't mind giving away anything that they have. Good knowledge, material that you might need, knowledge that you might need, advice that you might need, notes that you might need, books that you might want to borrow. Givers are ready to give whatever they have for the betterment of others. Takers are exactly opposite of givers. They always take, but they will not give. They are consistent takers. Whatever comes their way, they just take it and gobble it. Now, there are matches. These are fairly harmless people. Givers are good people. Givers are good people. You can hang out with them. You should avoid takers. But matchers are someone who are harmless, in my opinion, neutral people. They are the ones, they will match your deed with exactly same deed. So if you're coming to college and you ask your friend, give me a ride today, my bike is not helping me, and you take that help from that person. He will take you to the college on his bike. Now, a matcher is someone who will say, so today I took you on my bike, tomorrow you should take me on your bike. 1:1, matching happened. So if you ask them ride for 5 times, they will remember I gave him ride 5 times, so he should also give me ride 5 times. And there is nothing wrong with this. They're fairly harmless people. They know what they want, they know how to get it. Matches. But the most dangerous people whom you can never identify are the fakers. Fakers are those people who have extremely good talent on faking something they are not. Okay, so I will talk about examples in the corporate world as well as from our epics. Givers are, in this case, Ratan Tata. If you identify the people here, Ratan Tata is a big giver. What happens with big givers is these big givers are capable of building large systems. And Ratan Tata and his ancestors, it is father is Tata lineage. If you see the Tata lineage, Jamshedji Tata and then others, if you see all those people, they were all started companies, but from day one they were givers. And because of that giving capacity, they attracted a large number of people through whom they built large organizations. Tata is one of the largest conglomerates with everything that is possible on this earth. They make steel, they build education institutions, Tata Institute of Social Science, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and locomotives. You think of a business and they are there. And now they are also going to get into aviation industry. How is it possible for them? It is possible for them because they are the givers and they are the ones who can build large systems. If they are givers, they also take good care of their employees by giving them what they need. And Tatas are a good example of givers when it comes to corporates. And in our epics, the person known for giving is Bali Chakravarti. If you see that picture, Emperor Bali. He was the biggest giver. No matter who came to him asking for something, he gave it. Eventually, he was consumed by Vamana Avtara, an Avtara of Vishnu. But there's a reason for it. The difference between a giver and a giver with some conditions. Okay, Bali Chakravarti was conditional giver. He was biggest giver, but he was a conditional giver. The only thing he said is, I will give anything to anyone, except that in my country, Devatas shall not be worshipped. Indra, Varuna, and all those people will not be worshipped in my country. I don't like them. And if they come to me seeking anything, I will not give it to them. In fact, I will attack their countries, I will attack their cities and destroy them. So he's a conditional giver and he had to be consumed by Vamana Avtara. And if you see the takers, the biggest taker that we know of these days is the person, second person from top, the person in the middle. You can identify this person very easily. I'm sure you can. This person is a ruler of North Korea. This person is the biggest taker. He has not given anything for his country. If you see his wardrobe, if you see his palace, everything that he has is the highest quality. And how did he get them? He took them away from his citizens. He did not buy them. He did not acquire them out of his own ability. He acquired them by taking it away from people. And in our epics, we have an equivalent person. And that person with 10 heads, you can easily identify, is Ravana. He took everything from everyone. If he had Pushpak Viman, he did not build it. He did not have the knowledge. He got it stolen from Kubera. It was taken away from Kubera. Everything that he built in his Lanka was stolen or taken away from people forcefully. King Jong-un is still around, but Ravana met his fate. He was okay until he decided to take away Sita from Ram. Until then, he was okay. And that brought his end. Takers will eventually meet their ends in a very, very pathetic way, in a very, very sad way. If you are a taker, I want to reconsider your options. If you are taking something from someone, at least be a matcher. If you can exceed that level and become a giver, no matter what you take, if you have to take, as a student, you have to take. Some cases, if you don't have enough money, enough income as a student, it is possible that you will borrow. You will take something from someone. Knowledge you take from your teachers. And then when it is your turn, apna time aayega, they say, right? When it is your time, are you able to give back? If you are able to do that, you will qualify as a giver, and therefore you will be eligible to bring to build large systems. You will be capable of that. Okay, and then fakers, like I said, are very, very difficult people, very difficult to identify. There is no easy way to identify them. If you are in management, there is no way you would not recognize the person on the left, the third person. I'm sure you know, and that is Vijay Mallya. And I have plenty of examples when it comes to fakers. Vijay Mallya, took him as one example. He was a showman, and whenever people saw him, they looked up on Mallya as a very successful person. He is capable of achieving big things in life, and wherever he went, he was given a hero's welcome, and he believed that he is a hero. Okay, fakers have a tendency to show off quite a bit. And when they show off in a very, very big way. Malia did all of that. He was a faker, number one faker. And at the end of the show, everything that he was faking, he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he was not able to hide it at some point. At some point, he has to show up to everyone, and that's what happened. If I go back to our epics, if I go back to our epic times, and we have another faker, I'm sure at least some of you would have recognized this picture. The picture is that of Shakuni Mama. Shakuni Mama was a very cunning fellow. On the surface, he appeared to be one who is giving the best advice to Duryodhana at all times. He appeared to be the best uncle in the world. Okay, and at some point it had to come out. All the faking that he was doing throughout his life had come out, but it was too late, too little and too late. So that when you step into the society, you understand the different types of people that you meet, whether it is at corporates or whether it is even small shops. Wherever you go, you will certainly meet some of these people: givers, takers, matchers, and fakers. Most harmless are matchers here. I see them, I recognize them very easily, and I know I'll match them. I'll help them match themselves sometimes, right? But fakers, for me also, I have seen many fakers, and I was right about most of them, but some of them I was wrong about some of the fakers. But it is very difficult for you to find out fakers. At the end of the time, at the end of it, if you slowly understand the psychology of the people that you meet, eventually you will understand that you are meeting either a giver, taker, matcher, or a faker. You'll slowly understand. But most difficult ones are fakers. No matter how much experience you gain, if you are bound to get cheated by someone who is faking too much, you will certainly encounter that person at some point or the other. I'm sure you have already encountered some fakers. If you have not, God bless you, you are very lucky. Okay, now I will go back to another set of people. These people are also very, very interesting people. At a very simple level, we know there are good people, there are bad people, and that's where our story ends. But if we try to analyze our society a little bit more, our environment a little bit more, there are also weak good people, and there are also very strong bad people, and there are also strong good people and weak bad people. Now, if you look at the whole story, there are also a bunch of people who can be called murkaha, and that's a plural for murka, which is idiot. There are a bunch of them. You'll meet a number of them throughout your life. But good people, bad people, black and white, easy. Weak good people, what can they do for you? Or if you are one of them, what happens? Weak good people they are good, they are intelligent, they are smart, but they don't have any power of their own to do anything significant in life. Anything significant in life, right? Or if there is something that is going wrong and this person knows it is going wrong, because he is weak, he will do nothing about it. If you are a good person, don't feel happy about it. If you are a good person, feel happy if you are also a strong good person. Now, the problem is with strong bad people. They have no ethics, they have no good characters, good integrity, but they somehow gain lot of energy, lot of strength. And I don't know how they get it from. If there are a lot of strong bad people in a society, it is mainly because there are a lot of weak good people in that society. Very simple analogy to understand. If there are strong bad people in a society, which we are experiencing in India quite a bit, there are bad people who are getting very, very strong, and that is possible only because there are too many good people who are very weak, who can do nothing about it. And then there are strong good people. If a society is thriving and doing wonders and able to do a lot of good things, it is because the people, good people in that society, have the strength. The society gives them that necessary strength to be able to do good things. And again, Ramaraja, when they talk about Ramaraja, they say Ramaraja, in Ramaraja there was very, very strong good people everywhere. If there are any bad people, they were powerless. They could do nothing about it. But bad people are so poor, so weak that they could not dominate in any case. If you look at the same time in during Rama's time in Sri Lanka, at the time Lanka where Ravana lived, there were bad people everywhere. Very few good people, and they have no voice. We take the same example from Ramayana. Vibhishana was at the top. He is brother of Ravana. He was a good person, but he had no strength to convince his brother that he is doing wrong. What he is doing is totally wrong. That courage to be able to do this. Always leave Rama. That's what happens with people who are good but who have no strength. Right. So those are again the kind of people that I wanted to touch about. This is a book that I recommend to many people. This is not found in many management schools about the nature of people and how people behave. Kautilya's Arthashastra is one of my favorite books, and it's a very voluminous book. If you open that book, there are probably 700 pages in it. A good version. I have a Telugu version of this book. In this book, if you see, there is a chapter on how to identify theft. Okay, when you look at Arthashastra, you look at it as a finance document, a book on finances. But essentially, it is also many things, many things about leadership, about management, and many other things. They have identified in a chapter 40 different ways in which an accountant can cheat. 40 different ways in which anyone in a company can cheat. Okay, very lovely book. I recommend this book to all the management students. Whenever I go and talk in a management school or any other place, this is a book I strongly recommend. This book was written by Kautilya or Chanakya, if you want to call him, or Vishnugupta. This person was there when Alexander was around 325 BC, and this person was responsible for creating the largest empire in India. At that time, and even when compared to this date, Chandragupta Maurya dynasty, and he was the person who made it possible for creating that kind of a large empire. And he was the wisest person who created Chandragupta, and Chandragupta became a powerful ruler mainly because of a person by name Chanakya. And he wrote this treatise, and this survived to this day, and this is considered as a Bible even by many leading financial experts to this day, especially those in India. They consider this as a book that everyone should read, and that's the reason why I recommend this book. Now, so I will conclude mostly with one more topic I wanted to get into. I want to give you some examples on management behavior. If you look at that very closely, it is also mismanagement behavior or management misbehavior. Okay, now our epics have wonderful stories that can be seen, for which we can find parallels in modern industry also. Okay, for example, if you see the story on the left side, there is this story about a rishi called Parshurama. Parshurama was very knowledgeable in many astras, the missiles or the weapons that can be used in a war. And one day, Karna, one of the heroes of Mahabharata, visits Parshurama. And Parshurama and asks him, "Can you teach me how to create these weapons?" And Parshurama asks him, "Why should I teach you?" And he says, "I am a particular. I belong to a particular sect, and it is because of that qualification I should be given this kind of knowledge." And Parshrama agrees, and they start the training process. And like I said, Nityam Vruddho Pashayavinaha, a guru is very well taken care of by Karna. Whatever needs guru has, those needs were taken care of by Karna. And at some point, Parshrama realizes that just to gain that knowledge of usage of certain weapons, Karna had lied to him. Okay, when he lied to him, that's when Parshrama realizes that a cheating has taken place, stealing of knowledge has happened. Immediately Parshrama curses him, and this is a technique. I don't know how a similar technique works in the modern environment. In that environment, thousands of years back, when Parshrama cursed him, the way he cursed him was very simple. The knowledge that you gain from me will not be useful to you in the most needy time. When you are at a particular point where you need this knowledge the most, at that point, this knowledge will become useless to you. And that's a curse. There's a similar story around the same time, Karna's time. There is a person called Ekalavya, and Ekalavya is a hero for many people. But for all practical purposes, Ekalavya was also stealing knowledge that was denied to him. He asked for that knowledge, and that knowledge was not given by Dronacharya. When it was refused, he started stealing that knowledge. And there are different colors that were given to this story on how this has to be done, how badly a person is treated, and so on. But the fact of the matter is, stealing of knowledge is something that happened at that time, and that is a big no-no. And in both the cases, Dronacharya, when you have to use bow and arrow, this sum is very important for you. And Dronacharya asked him, "You have taken this knowledge using my area, using my picture. You took this knowledge. As a Guru Dakshina, what are you going to give me?" And Ekalavya said, "I'll give you anything that you want. What do you want?" And Dronacharya simply asked, "Don't give me anything, just give me your thumb." He gave it. What happened as a result of it? Ekalavya's knowledge of everything that he gained stealthily is lost. He cannot use a weapon anymore as efficiently as used to. Using a weapon like this is different from using a weapon like this, right? Using bow and arrow like this is very different. Now, why am I talking about these things? Look at either Dronacharya or Parshrama as leaders in a corporate environment. When you notice that a theft of intellectual property is happening in a disguise in front of you, and you are not aware of it for a long time, what do you do about it? If it is your own employees, your own kith and kin, those who came to you and sought your knowledge, sought your blessings, and then they are stealing that knowledge away from you so as to establish a similar company elsewhere. When you look at epics are littered with this kind of examples. All we have to do is, can this happen in a corporate environment? It happened ages back, many hundreds and thousands of years back. It happened in a kingdom. How is it relevant to this current day? The human behavior did not change in thousands of years. Givers, takers, fakers, and matches have been there for thousands of years. They will be here they are here today, and thousands of years from now, they will still be there. Stealing of knowledge will happen. It happened thousands of years back, it's happening today, and it will happen thousands of years later also. Every time there are checks and balances that companies put in place in order to make sure that this kind of theft does not happen. On the surface, it appears to be good. This person is seeking knowledge, he is not stealing knowledge, this is fairly harmless, and by the time you realize that this knowledge was stolen and taken away from you, disaster happens. And I'll give you one example from modern analysis. I studied in University of New Mexico, Albuquerque, and physics class. There's Masters in Physics program, and in that program, we saw a lot of Chinese people. And the same thing happened with many big universities. Whenever there was a class on nuclear physics and so on, there were always a bunch of Chinese people, very few Americans and very few Indians. And this was going on from 60s onwards or even 50s onwards. All the major universities that are teaching very high-tech knowledge. Who are the people who are there to learn that kind of knowledge? People who should not have received these weapons, right? And I'm probably taking this could be a little controversial, right? They say that it is absolutely clear to this day that the knowledge of how to make nuclear weapons was stolen from the Americans, and it was stolen and taken everywhere else. It was given to friendly countries like UK and other countries, but people who are not supposed to get it and got it stealthily. To this day, this important knowledge, most important knowledge, whether it is intellectual property, secrets about weapons, they are getting continuously stolen. How do you handle this? Whether it's a small company, business secrets that you have, or other things that you have. If they are getting stolen, how do you deal with it? It's a lesson from, we have to read epics mainly because there are lessons for all of us to understand from that. Okay, so with that, I will again conclude with one more small thing that I wanted to mention. If you are a college student, if you are stepping into higher roles in life, understand that the more powerful you get, the more corrupt you are likely to get. Okay, and money also corrupts. The more money that you make, it is likely that that money will corrupt you. Okay, these two are important things for you to understand. When you are very powerful and when you are in leadership role where you can take decisions that can impact lives, other people's lives, if you don't do it well, if you get corrupted, you are impacting lives of people in a negative way, in a very negative way. So understand that as you grow in life, as you reach various leadership roles, that the power that you acquire is capable of corrupting you. Sometimes it comes in the garb of, it tells you it comes to you in a very secret way, saying that if you don't do it this way, it will not work. And that's what they'll tell you. If others are cheating, I can also cheat. If others are being very powerful and enforcing their systems very powerfully, I should also do it. And corruption comes in this format. It tells you that this is the right thing to do. And when corruption enters your mind, it's very difficult to find it out. Same thing with money. The more money that you make, the more corrupt it can make you. But how do you make sure that power does not corrupt you? How do you make sure that money does not corrupt you? The very simple answer is, if you are sticking to your basics of the very first mantra that I told you about, Abhivadana Shilasya, one of the first mantras that I told you about, Abhivadana Shilasya. If you make integrity more important than anything else on this planet, both money and power cannot touch you. And aren't there any examples about this? There are plenty of examples to this day. There are corporates where their growth did not corrupt them. There are leaders whose growth did not corrupt them. But there are also negative examples. There are also companies that grew and eventually fell down because of their corrupt behavior. There are, like I said, Vijay Mallya's case, their empire collapsed mainly because the people at the top did not have the necessary integrity. Their money corrupted them, their power corrupted them. And whether you are an individual or whether you are a corporate, understand how to identify stealers, understand how to identify fakers. Once you are able to do that, you will completely know what works and what does not work. The most important principles of management behavior, I think, is to understand these things: how money works, how power works, how you identify your environment, negativity in your environment. If you know that, you will know how things work. Okay, so with that, I will stop here and start taking questions from you. I know I have spoken for a very long time, nearly for an hour. Thank you for your patient hearing. But what happens is, whenever I give a talk like this, the most learning and the best out of me and the best out of you comes out only when we have a good discussion. So I'll open for questions now. Feel free to contradict me, say that I am wrong, or support me and say that I am right in certain cases, maybe if not in all the cases. Okay. I'm not able to hear you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time, sir. We just keeping the floor open for question answers. Any questions? Yes. Anybody has any question or any doubt or anything that you want to ask? Your advanced session? Yes. Will be back. Yes, I got one question. Another will ask. Come here and answer.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Komaragiri. Sir, actually, I don't have any questions, sir. I wanted to say about the Dronacharya and Eklavya story and also Karna and Parshurama story. The, the way you made it understand as in a business scenario for the management purpose, it made it very correlated.
Okay.
Sir, I really love the way you put that concept into our context and explain it, sir. So I just wanted to thank you.
Any question you have?
Thank you.
Any takeaways you want to share? What are the takeaways from this session?
Okay. So, if you have a question, you can ask me. If you do have any questions, I have a question for you. I can ask you some questions.
Yes. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, so we have many people in this room, right? Now, I talked to you about givers, takers, matchers, and fakers, right? I try to survey the people that I talk to sometimes, and I ask them, "Who are you? Are you a giver, taker, matcher, or a faker?" Who wants to answer this? You can be honest, or you can even be dishonest. I don't care. But if you have an answer for this, are you a giver? Why do you think you are a giver? Are you a taker? Why? Matcher, fixer, same. Matcher, faker, same question. Anyone? There's an advantage for me in this class because I can see you all. I can pinpoint and say, that person with that color shirt, please get up and answer. I'll give you a chance first.
Yeah, give us one. Hello, sir. I'm a giver, sir.
So you are a giver. What's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan.
Shaker. Shaker is a giver.
Ethan.
Satan. Okay. Sorry, I'm not able to hear the name properly.
Ethan is a giver.
Giver. Why do you think you are a giver?
Self-certification, sir. Self-satisfaction. Helping others.
So it gives you satisfaction to give. Okay. Now, I can see you all. I want you to raise your hand if you think you are a giver. Raise your hand if you think you are a giver. Just
Please
raise
raise
your
your
hand.
hand if you
I'll put you on.
how many of you all classify yourself or identify yourself as givers? Please raise your hands. Truthfully, helping others, giving others, motivating others, givers,
Okay.
giving everything, giving your time.
Okay. Can someone count and tell me how many are givers? Okay.
More than 20, 25.
20, 25 out of 40 people maybe, right? Okay. Okay. So the rest of the people, how many of you think you are takers? If you are giver, not you, then you are not a taker. I want to say how many of you claim that you are a taker? So this is pretty typical. Not many people can raise their hand. Okay, there's one person, honest person, is a taker. All right, thank you. One person, right, right. Thank you. How many of you are matchers? I see some raised hands. Okay. All right. And finally, how many of you are fakers? Good. Zero, right?
Are you asking?
Zero? Zero?
Yes, sir. They say they are fakers.
Zero fakers, right? That's very typical of fakers. They don't tell you that they are faking. Very typical of fakers. They will not say that they are fakers. Alright. So, anyone else with any thoughts on what I said, what I covered? Any questions from any of you? Ma'am, I'm not able to hear you. You're on mute.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Anshul. So in your in your section you said that matches are harmless. It means that it's a kind of a give and take process, right? If I am giving somebody, I'm in how much of money is passed. Okay, but if I'm having a doubt because I don't have not in a position of being a giver. So it should not make me less than a matcher or something like I have a doubt. Because if I will be a giver, I'm having a point that I'm like I'm doing something for others. Okay. But if I'm considering as a matcher, I'm like, am I being selfish to that person because I'm doing it in the sense of taking it back? So that I have a
Okay. So I understood the second one, but I did not understand the first one. I will go on mute one more time. Can you ask your question again?
yeah, sure. Actually, my
Keep it close. Close to your mic.
am I audible to you now? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So my doubt was that I wanted to like I personally believe that givers are the greatest people because they're giving it without taking something in return. Okay. But now I am in a position, or I think that I am a kind of a mature person because I'm not that great. But that is without if not making it less comparison to givers and matches that I am around. Like that's my doubt. I hope you.
So two, yeah. So two brief questions. The first one is you claim that you are a matcher. Can you put it on mute? Thank you. Okay. So you say that you are a matcher, and you don't see anything wrong in being a taker also, because it's fine to take when you need something, right? Now, the second question is related question. You said if people match, are they selfish? Okay, now I want to take a look at both of them. If you are a matcher, like I said very early on, matchers are fairly harmless people. They're, in a typical mafia environment, you will see plenty of matchers. Now, for all practical purposes, mafia people are bad people that we know they are harmful to society. But inside their own network, they have this beautiful give and take. How much will you do for me and how much will I do in return for you? This is a pakka give and take, and they can measure and quantify it very easily. If it is 10 units, I will also match it with 10 units, and that is how the mafia survive. But in general public, matchers are like I gave the example of riding. People who give you a ride, they count how many times they gave you a ride, and then they want to match it again later on. Okay, that is fairly harmless. Again, fairly harmless. You are a selfish person. You take even when there is no need. I'm sure you will find examples of those people who take even when there is no need. I'll be blunt about this. There are people I encountered who come from very well-to-do families, right? But they don't contribute anything to a collaborative environment. Let's say we all go out and eat lunch at a different place, at a particular restaurant. The person who is coming from a well-to-do family, if he is a taker, he will not even contribute his portion. A matcher will say, 5 people, 5,000 rupees, I'll give you my 1,000 rupees. A giver is someone who will say, Arey, don't worry, yaar, I'll take care of this bill sometime, I'm very happy to meet you all. A taker will say, will not say anything. He will not utter a word. In fact, a taker is someone who will go to the washroom when the bill arrives. Right? So if such a kind of a taker, in my opinion, is a selfish person. A matcher is not a selfish person for all practical purposes, in my opinion. So good question. Try to analyze these things yourself and where selfishness enters. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I have a question, sir. You have cited few examples on knowledge stealing. Ekalavya and the other person, sir. Karna, Lord Karna and Ekalavya. Sir, now in this current era, there is no concept of stealing the knowledge. It is, as per my understanding, sir, we do have abundant sources of knowledge like Google, YouTube, or libraries, digital libraries. We do have abundant sources where we get knowledge. So now knowledge is underutilized by all of us. I feel, sir. I just want to express my opinions.
Okay, so very, very, very valid question. I love the way you asked that question. I want you to understand again, all the knowledge is available in Google. Scores of people are contributing, are giving their knowledge for the betterment of others, which is fantastic. There is no knowledge that is not available on Google, including how to make a bomb, right? How to assemble a how to assemble nuclear material. There is no knowledge that is not available on Google. But again, think about it a little more carefully. You will understand that there is always classified information. There is always intellectual property that a company owns. For example, I'll give you one example on Coca-Cola, for example. Everyone knows Coke as an example, right? No one knows the formula on how to make that Coke except for Coke company. Now, what if Coke as a company loses that formula to someone else and they start making exactly the same product and sell it for 50% lesser than the cost of Coke that Coke is selling? Coca-Cola as a company is selling. Then what happens to Coke? Their business model gets destroyed in the process. Right? Now you can search on Google wherever you want, but you will never find the formula for Coke. How Coca-Cola is manufactured. What are the ingredients that are used in it? I'm taking just one example. There are companies, for example, if you take even the recent example of Covax and Covishield. Okay, if you take these examples, nobody knows how to make them. How to make them to those precise exact standards. Nobody knows them, and this information is not available on Google. If you go into Google and search on how is Covaxin made or how Covishield is made, you will probably find this is certain mRNA drug or certain information, superficial information about it. But you will not find the exact chemical dilutions that they use. This particular thing, this much amount, this particular thing, this much amount, and you have to rotate it, keep rotating it for 24 hours. That kind of detailed steps on how to do it is not available. And if that is stolen, then what happens? So my contention is again this lot of classified information that governments have. Indian government has lots of confidential information on how to make a 2000 rupee note. What colors are used, what is the proportion of the color used, and how do you make sure that this particular 2000 rupee note is not reproducible? How do you do that? And if that information is not sacred and not kept it the way it is supposed to be kept, and if it is stolen, then what happens to our economy? And these are the things that I'm talking about. At those ancient times, when we talk about Karna and Ekalavya, they were not learning ordinary things. It's not like I know how to shoot an arrow. It's not that. There are different kinds of astras that are available. There's something called Shabdavariya. So you at a far off distance, you get some sound, and based on that sound, you'll be able to send an arrow to the source of that sound, Shabdavari. And these are the techniques that are available in ancient texts. And how to get them is a secret knowledge that only few people had, like Dronacharya and Parashram. And people who are trying to steal that knowledge are the people who are not famously good people. If things get into bad hands, that's when we get into problems. And management is all about this. Can you make sure the knowledge that goes out goes into good hands? Can you ensure that the knowledge that stays in your company stays in those hands and those minds that are trustworthy? They don't leak this information to anyone else. How do you ensure that? These are the things that I was talking about in management behavior, mismanagement behavior, management misbehavior. That's all I was talking about. Okay? Good question though.
No more questions? Okay. Come this one forward.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking and interesting ideas. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for all your time and for all the insights that we got. I'm sure this session will be a life-taking section for the students where they can recall, and whenever they come in front of people, we have to classify them mentally, whether they are givers, takers, or matches, and then we have to form your own company. Okay? So I'm sure all of you have benefited from this class. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. First time I'm speaking to a large audience online like this. Thank you for the opportunity, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.